Traveltek is a company that lets tour operators and travel agents create, sell and manage their travel portfolio, which means we offer both consumer-facing websites and agency tools for tour operators to make bookings online in their agency or through their call centre. So we've been an NTT customer for over 15 years and we have built up a large infrastructure with them. And while we did look at the industry to try and find a partner to help us with our PCI, we decided upon NTT because we wanted to continue the relationship that we already had. And we also have an application which integrates the payment solution into various parts of the system, and we didn't want to push that out off onto some other domain or some other service. Our customers like the fact that we offer an integrated solution, and we didn't want to have to change the user experience that our customers have just in order to be PCI compliant. And it seemed as if, with NTT already providing everything else, that they seemed like the best way that we could keep the integration rather than separating it all. What we're looking for from a partner is somebody who is going to actually work with us. There is a lot of PCI which requires answers to questions which are not necessarily clear simply from the PCI spec, and therefore any partner that we were going to have to pick was going to be as much responsible for correctly documenting everything as we were. So having somebody who had already done it before and had that experience and knew the kind of thing that an auditor was going to look for was key to allowing us to focus on the areas where we have our skills and allow our partner to focus on theirs. One of the things early on that our auditor asked for was simply roles and responsibilities. Who was going to be responsible for different parts of answering each of the 300 points that PCI requires you to do. So one of the things that NTT brought was an existing experience of managing that kind of project and managing it within the travel industry as well. So they were right away able to know what their key requirements were going to be and what ours were, which meant that we didn't have a long period of arguing over who was going to be responsible for what part of it, that it was already clear. The NTT application management team knew already what bits they were going to have to do, and that allowed us to then focus on our areas rather than having to spend a lot of time working out who was going to do what. The biggest challenge we have is that we have a number of systems that manage credit cards, including some areas that actually store lodged card details for our customers, and therefore we needed to find a secure manner for doing that. And with the help of NTT, we identified a solution in a product called Porticore, and we were then able to use NTT's technical team to have the conversations with Porticore about what the best way to approach storing and encrypting this data was, in a way that we could then safely store the card data and the keys, the encryption keys associated with it. And the other challenge was simply not having to change the way our customers are used to using the system. We didn't want to have to go to all of our customers and the thousands of users who come into work every day to use our platform and tell our customers that they were going to have to retrain all their staff into a new booking process, or that they were going to have to change the way their websites worked to move the payment step off into another place, which in turn just means design changes and training updates, documentation updates. So we really wanted to focus on it being as close to how it worked at the moment as possible. So the combination of being able to store the card details safely through Porticore and being able to focus on managing the software side ourselves meant that we didn't have to make those compromises in the setup. I think it sends a message that Traveltek takes security very seriously, that we take the responsibility of storing our customers' credit card data and all their data as a key focus of the service that we're providing. I think that also it allowed a lot of our customers to meet their own PCI requirements, where it's becoming more of a focus across the whole industry, and it gives them a lot of peace of mind that they're able to tick that section off of their own PCI compliance, and in many cases also allowed us to answer questions for our customers where we now had the experience of doing it ourselves, and therefore were able to help them out as well. And I think finally it gives us just a general good security grounding as we work going forward to have more compliance and going for ISO 27001 or any of the other security standards out there, that it taught us a lot internally about how to manage a project like that and how to make the changes necessary to meet that accreditation. I think our expectations going forward are probably largely more of the same. We're going into another year, which means another audit, and we will be relying on NTT to provide the evidence that they've upheld their side of it over the past year, where a first-year audit can sometimes be seen as easier than a second-year audit, because in a first-year audit, you don't necessarily always have to prove that you're doing certain things, because you're maybe only just putting them in place for the first time. So in a first-year audit, if you're asked whether or not you have certain policies or procedures in place, then you have to provide the appropriate documentation to show that you do have that in place. Whereas in the year 2 audit, you actually have to prove that you did it, which sometimes can be harder than proving that, you know, it's okay to have the policy, but in year 2 you actually need to prove that you followed the policy, which can make the second year audit more difficult. And since a lot of our requirements fall upon NTT and the NTT application management team, we are relying on them, that they will be able to provide the associated evidence that they followed each of the policies and procedures that they wrote. And we have, just as we have had for the past 15 years, just have an ongoing good working relationship with NTT. So I'm hoping that that will continue.
NTT Communications.